Don't ever allow anyone to stifle your voice. Be strong-willed, stay independent, and believe within yourself that you are a gem, you are a diamond, and that you have self-worth and you are loved.
Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your host, Kate Bryan. The One Girl Revolution podcast highlights the stories of everyday women who are changing the world through their lives. Every week, I talk to inspiring women and girls who are doing something incredible to make a difference in the world. Please subscribe to the One Girl Revolution podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number one girl, REVO. We're on YouTube at One Girl Revolution, and you can find all of our social media links, podcast episodes, videos, and so much more on our website, onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com. On this week's episode, we talk about single parents and single parent families. Now, if you're listening and you're not a single parent or you don't think that this content is relevant to you, you're wrong. The reality is we all know single parents. We all have single parent families in our communities, maybe in our families. We all know them, and there is so much that we can all do, no matter who we are. There's so much we can do to support them and to build community around them and their children. As you'll hear in this episode, there are so many different reasons for single parent families and why someone is a single parent. Sometimes one of the parents is dealing with addiction. Maybe a parent was lost because of illness or some tragic accident. Or maybe there's just an absent parent. There's so many different reasons and so many different ways that single parent families come about, but there is so much that we can do to support them and build community around these parents and their children, and just to do something kind. And it's not just about single parent families. I think we should be doing so much more to support the families around us and in our communities. My guest today is Jeri Hunley, founder of Single Family Living. I am so excited to have her on the One Girl Revolution podcast, and you're just going to love this episode. As you'll hear in this episode, I called her organization Single Parent Living a few times. Whoopsies, but it's actually a true assessment of the organization. Single Family Living builds community and support around single parents and their kids. They offer resources, events, and so much more to support these families, and they are truly changing the world. Now, I'm talking about single mothers who had children young or had a surprise baby, but also single parents in all the other different situations that exist. I share in this episode with Jeri that I know numerous families who one of the parents are struggling with addiction or suffered a tragic loss of a spouse. And there are so many different other situations out there. And there are even situations where we may not even know that a parent is absent or that one parent is running the household. Sometimes we look on social media and everybody looks happy and we think that things are going well, but there are so many single parent families out there and families that are struggling, and there's so much we can do to support them. I hope this episode reminds you to keep an eye out for those around you. And if you know someone who is a single parent, or maybe even just someone you think might be struggling, do something kind for them and something for their family and their kids. Buy them a gift card for groceries, a dinner out, drop off a meal, just something to brighten their day and fill their hearts with love. Jeri's personal story will absolutely blow you away, inspire you. She herself was a young single mother, struggled with homelessness at one point. She was living out of her car and didn't know how she was going to get by, and ended up making the difficult phone call to her family, and thankfully her family stepped up and supported her. And she talks about the power of that phone call and the power of the community that was built up around her. And so she wanted to create that same thing through Single Family Living. Jeri's incredible. You're going to love her. Her story is so beautiful, and so is her work. So without further ado, here's Jeri. Jeri, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and a great opportunity. I appreciate you asking me to actually share my story.
I am so honored to have you on, and I'm excited for all of our listeners to hear your story. I know that you have so much to share and you're doing such incredible work. But before we get into your story, I'd love to ask you, who is a One Girl Revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that's inspired you?
That's a good question. it's hard to pinpoint just one person, I would say, that has impacted my life. Like it's actually my mom and my grandmother, but for the sake of time, I'm going to focus on my grandmother, who was a single mom who raised 9 children. She lived through a lot of trials and tribulations. She overcame a lot of adversities in her life. She was a very strong-willed woman who basically had 9 children. One of her children was 4 months old and died of pneumonia. Then she had to deal with 2 of her sons out of 4 going to Vietnam War. One did not survive. And then outliving her 4 children that died. And through it all, my grandmother continues to maintain love and hopefulness within her soul. That is something that she teaches us, and she gives us knowledge about life and how to be basically how to be strong and encouraging, and to feed off of the family of love, because she exudes that. She exudes wisdom. And she is heavily religious in God. And she continues on speaking to us about having a voice and being truthful.
It's amazing to have women like that in our lives, and it's just family members, and I think we all have had, whether it's a family member or a friend or a motherly figure, not everyone has someone in their family like that, but we need to look to those women, and we're going to be their legacy, because we're going to learn so much from them and just be able to continue on what we learned from them. It's incredible.
Yes, definitely. And I look towards her. She's my North Star. So
I would love to hear about your early life and, who you are and where you're from and more about that. And I'm sure that your grandmother comes into that as well. So I would love to rewind before we get into the incredible work that you're doing and just talk about your early life and who you are and where you're from.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure my grandmother would say I was the kid that had a lot to say about everything. And I had a very strong-willed spirit, like her, like her. But I grew up on the east side of Detroit, off of 7 Mile, and I have 3 brothers and 1 sister who I love dearly. And my parents have been married for over 49 years. So we have a very strong, tight-knit family that we love and support each other no matter what. And I thought through it all, growing up in a tight-knit family, that I could rule the world, that I was supported by my family with strong ambitions to help others and to give. And if I saw someone who was in pain or hurting, I was always the first person to go and just take care of them. And I was raised in a very blessed home and loving home. It was amazing. My parents, they always believed in us maintaining a good education. They were what you call back in the day, like in the 90s, strict. I wanted to go to the mall. No, you can't go to the mall. You gotta, stay home. You got chores to do. You gotta work on your schoolwork. I went to school 6 days out of the week and Sunday school on Sunday. And I didn't like it. But I knew that it was part of my parents building up character for us, and they didn't appreciate us whining about the adversities or failures that we have in life. Um, we were not allowed to have self-pity parties. Self-pity parties was not allowed. Um, I remember that I told my mom one day when I was, I think, about 8 or 9, that I was just ready to pack up and not go to school because I was being bullied, heavily bullied, because of my voice, the way I looked. I come from a strong family where we have Native American background and African American, and long black hair and soft voice just didn't fit well where I was from in Detroit. And my mom told me that I needed to definitely look within myself and face up to my fears. Because if I didn't, then I would forever be running from my fears and any adversities that I've had in life. So that next day, I stood up and swallowed my fears and against that bully. And from that moment, I knew that it was my purpose in life to have a voice, as a young woman. And I felt liberated and free and exhilarated because I knew I had a voice.
And empowered women empower women, as they say. And so I think there's so much power in women digging down into their soul, into their heart, and finding that, and finding their voice and finding their story. And that's, as you know, that's what this podcast is all about, is highlighting women and their voices and their stories, because so often we're overlooked or we're silenced by the bullies. But I'd love to know, Jeri, like, how did you get into from there? You found your voice, you found out who you were. And I mean, we're all still finding out who we are, I guess. So maybe you didn't find out exactly who you are, but how did you get from there, from that girl, to where you are now, doing the work that you're doing now?
Basically, it took me a lot of adversities within myself. I struggled with confidence. I struggled with finding my voice. Somewhere along the line, you, as a woman, you have moments in life that stifle your voice, and I had that moment. When I created Single Family Living, I based it off my own personal experience that I've had in life. And I remember I was in college, I was a sophomore, and I ended up becoming pregnant. I dropped out. My parents did not know. They had no idea. They thought that I was still going to school. And for several months, I felt ashamed because I knew better. And I grew up from a conservative and religious family who, again, of course, they were married for over 49 years. And I had just recently broke up with my boyfriend, who I broke up because he was becoming violent towards me while I was pregnant. From there, I was sleeping in my car, and I would go and eat at soup kitchens, dig in the garbage cans at school, and cash pop bottles so I could have gas and just be able to have some snacks in between that time. I did this for several months, and my parents had no idea. I guess I was too ashamed to let them know that, that this has happened, that I was pregnant. But one night, it's like it was epiphany that had happened where first of all, I was cold. like really cold in the winter. Detroit, Detroit weather is crazy. It's like
So
sometimes,
cold here.
yes, it's like Alaska. I'm sorry, we're the new Alaska.
We
So
are.
that I just I ran out of gas. I ran out of gas, and I finally was able to go to a payphone. Yes, we had payphones in the 90s, and the early 2000s for you guys who don't know what payphones is. But I went to a payphone and I called my mom. I remember this was like the most heartfelt uh, moment for me, was to tell her, and I didn't even have to tell her. That's what made it. I think she knew by my voice. Um, I broke down crying on the phone. And my mom, being the mom, I think moms know, they have an intuition within their soul when they have kids, that they automatically know something is wrong. So I knew, by me crying and not saying anything, she said, "You're pregnant," and told me to come home. I broke down and cried so hard because for those months, that's all I needed to do, was to contact my mom and to be open and honest, because that's how they raised us. My parents raised us to be open and honest, and to always come to them whenever we have issues or problems, no matter what it is, because they have unconditional love for us. And I would have saved myself a lot of time and issues and suffering, but I'm thankful that she said, "We will do whatever we can do to help you. No matter what, we're always going to be here for you. As a family, we stick together."
That's so important for even parents that are listening or friends that are listening. If you ever have a friend who's in that situation, like I've had different friends that have said your reaction to a woman telling you that she's pregnant, especially when she's feeling isolated or alone, or she's young, whatever the situation is, whenever somebody tells you, even if they're not excited to tell you, you should always say, "I love you," or, "I'm with you, I'm standing with you," but something to just remind, because we all make up these scenarios in our heads. I've had other situations where it's like I make up a scenario in my head and I think it's going to be way worse. It's going to play out way worse than it will. And I know that's what happened with your family, and your mom's reaction was so powerful and so beautiful. And that's exactly what you needed to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I think by me going through that experience, it taught me that I can depend on my family no matter what adversities or trials or tribulations that I have in my life. And it stayed with me through so many other things that has happened, within that time span. Um, it's just, I founded single family living for that that experience. And I know with me, talking and speaking to other single families, single parents, single moms during that time, and me being scared and struggling, not knowing who I was, not knowing where to go. Um, I know other women didn't come out so successful as I did. A lot of single mothers didn't make it. And their voice was never heard. And in order for me to pay homage to them, I started single family living, to provide that support that, other mothers, single mothers didn't have. from their own families to just to say that they love them and they support them and guide them no matter what. So I felt that that meant a lot, um, because it does take a village, and that village helped support me and create a strong foundation for my son.
The great part about your story and what you're doing now with single parent living is that you are speaking from experience. So you know what it feels like not to have community. You know what it feels like not to have the resources that you need. And there are so many different things that unless you've been through it yourself, you don't really know. Like I couldn't tell you all the different trials and tribulations that a single parent goes through, but you know because you've been there. And I'm sure that also everybody's journey is different, and so now you have this community where you're still learning and growing and being like, oh, okay, well, this person needs this, so let's grow the organization in that way. For people that are listening, what is single parent living? Tell me about the mission.
So our mission is to basically advocate for single mothers and empower them to find their voice and encourage them to have self-worth, which is so much needed. Um, so our organization is a nonprofit, and we're located in the city of Detroit. We want to help single mothers achieve and strengthen family values and offer an environment of peer self-development and support group, um, family activities that is safe for their kids. We also provide, help with the youth, K through 12, with combating illiteracy and by mentoring and tutoring and coaching our youth in STEM projects, science, technology, English, math. Not too many people know that I ended up graduating. It took me like some years, but I did stop. I graduated with a paralegal degree and then moved on having a second child again, being a single parent, my daughter, with a master's degree in IT. So I take education very seriously for a positive future for you to have and to be successful. I think that's extremely important. So we at Single Family Living continue to strive for that, just like it was embedded in me at a younger age.
And just the power of community, you experienced that in your own life, having your family as a community. And I know you had other people that supported you, but really you're building this single parent living is building a family around a community around these single parent families. And so the children of the families are getting things that they need. And same with the parents are getting support and resources that they need, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, definitely. We try to make sure that um, we are out in the communities on a regular basis, letting individuals, and not just in the city of Detroit, but also there is a great need as well out in the suburbs as well. So not too many people know that because it's like hidden. Um, and you would have to know the areas in order to locate those areas that is low income and the individuals and families that are in need in those suburban areas. So we go out and then we seek it and we contact social workers. We contact other local charities, and we collaborate with them to try and help single parents and single families and kids that are in need. And we make sure that our voice is heard that if there is a single mother, a single parent, or just a youth that's in need of our services, we make sure that we go out and we provide that to them. Our presence is very strong, and I try to make sure that is clear, that we have a, a voice for our single families.
I loved what you said there just about how oftentimes we don't even know, like we don't even see the single parents. And I actually know numerous families, unfortunately, that there is a parent that's struggling with addiction or the parent has just left. And so a lot of times people think they look at, Facebook and they think, oh, that's a really happy family and look at them. And if you kind of put the pieces together, you can see, oh, the dad or the mom isn't really in the picture anymore. And so even there are so many people that at surface level, you would think, oh, they're really happy, they're doing great. But I think it's so important for us to know our friends, know our family, and pay attention to little signs. And if there are ways that we can support people, even if on the outset it looks like they're a big happy family and they have everything that they need, if we pay attention, there are so many people out there that can use support. And really, like all families need support in different ways. And so I just want to encourage everybody who's listening, look for those opportunities to serve families, or look for opportunities to serve single parent families that might need some support, and to be there for those kids too. Children need a community around them. And like you said at the beginning of the interview, like, takes a village. We need a village around us.
It's so impactful when kids see that their parents, they see everything. I know that. I have kids myself. They see everything. So they feed off what you exude. They feed off your energy. And if they see that you are trying to better yourself, then they're going to want to do the same thing. So that is so important that you said that.
Jeri, I would love to hear about a couple of stories of single parent families that you've supported, whether it's stories about the kids or stories about the parent, just because I think what you're doing is so incredible. And I would love for people who are listening to hear a couple of stories from you, maybe stories that touched your heart in a special way or that inspired you to keep going, because I know that running an organization can be so difficult. So I'd love to hear a couple of stories from you.
Oh my gosh, Kate. How much time we got?
I know, we'll just have to we'll do a series about it, and you can tell all kinds of stories, because I'm sure that you have so many.
Yeah, I have so many. I think I'm gonna give you two.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring it down to two. One, we took single family living took over the school, and I appreciate, shout out to Parker Elementary for allowing us to do that in Clinton Township. We invaded the school, and we created a spelling bee contest. So it was I wanted all the kids, K through sixth grade, to be involved. Yeah, I wanted little kids. Yes, I know they only know how to spell a certain words, but that's okay. We created that spelling bee so they can get involved and be excited about reading and learning. And so we ended up having the top 6 kids from K through 6, or 7 kids that was involved, and they won within their classes. And within those classes, we had to break down and pick out the top winner to get a prize, the finale prize. And when we did that, they picked out a kindergarten. And she was so proud because she won a $500 gift card from Gardner White.
Wow.
And when I walked up to her, I said, "Congratulations, honey, you won. How do you feel?" And one of the teachers said, Jeri Hunley. She's the CEO, the president, and founder of Single Family Living. And the little girl she said, "You're the president? I'm speaking to the president?" I was like, "Yeah, yes, honey, I am." She said, "You're so pretty. You're just so amazing. You're a woman, and I can't wait to grow up and be like you." And that, oh gosh, I'm about to cry. That was so impactful to me because for her to say that, um, and intertwine that with education, and for her to be a kindergarten, she has a voice. She has a voice, and I just never will forget that experience ever. That's another story, but another story that I can share was we invaded another school, and I was actually Glendale High School, and we had a classy sassy shop where we had so many brand new clothes that was donated to us by Torrid, accessories. It was just so much, it was everything in their stores, purses, boots, everything. And we had another company from a Canadian company that supported us as well. So we had so many clothes and coats that we took over the high school cafeteria, and we invited the entire community to go shopping for free. And one woman in particular came up to me and asked me, "Is this free?" And I was like, "Yes, definitely take as much as you want. You know, it's important for us to give back to the community." And she said, "Do you know how much this stuff is?" I said, I said, "Yes, yes, I do, but it's for you. It's for you." And she started crying. So I took her aside and just comforted her. And she told me, "You don't understand. I lost everything in a fire. And my girls didn't have any clothes or shoes. And every day they went to school with the same clothes." And she said, "Because of your organization, you were able to give my girls confidence again. You were able to give me dignity again." And that made me feel like I wanted to do more. There was more women out here that needed to feel that way. So those are just two of those stories that I hold very dearly. I have more, but you said two.
Yeah. I'm sure there are so many different stories that you could tell, and I hope that you continue to tell those stories, and all the people that you work with through the years, I hope that they share their stories, because like we talked about before, it gives other people courage. When you share your story, when you open up, share your heart, share things that are going on, it gives other people courage. And I know what you're doing really is like paying it forward. I know that the people that you're serving and working with now, they're going to find opportunities to help other people. When they land on their feet, they're going to be able to help others. And I think the stories that you shared, it just shows how even the little things, we might not think it's a big deal, buy a gift card for somebody, or even if you have a sense that someone is going through a difficult time, whether it be a single parent or a kid is struggling, or you just have a sense that somebody in your life, a single person, I mean, there are just so many different people in our lives. And if we learned anything from COVID, it's we all dealt with so many difficulties, and so many people had these dark moments in their life where they really felt isolated and felt alone. And just those little things, buying someone a gift card or sending them. I had a couple of friends recently that were just randomly sending through Venmo, sending $10 to somebody randomly, and just was like, hey, have a coffee on me. And just those little things that we do can have such a massive impact.
Yes, definitely. I always do my best to try to make sure that I maintain a sense of purpose. And I teach my kids that as well, that we are brought on this earth for a purpose. And it's important to, leave a legacy and be positive and to give as much as you can. And the journey on life is creating something that is spiritual, but also uplifting. So it's important for us to exude that, to express that, and to also reach back. If you're successful, oh my gosh, it's so important to reach back and show the other generations how to basically give, how to be a leader, how to if someone closes the door, that's not the end. If someone says no, that's not the end. How do you get over that? How do you get under? It's important for us to, not only as adults, but also as just humans, to actually just exude love. And that's what I'm all about.
Well, you exude love, you exude it, everything. And I've seen you in different situations at this point, not just on this podcast, where you just are so full of love, and it just resonates with everybody who sees you. And I'm sure, I can't wait, hopefully sometime soon, I'd love to come to an event or something that you guys are doing and just be a part of what you're doing, because I know that it is a love revolution in Detroit. And I hope that everybody who's listening, no matter where they are, that they find ways in their own community to emulate what you're doing, and just to spread love and kindness to anyone that they see that might be struggling or going through a difficult time, because we do truly have the power to change the world through our lives. I know that part of the reason why you do what you do is because of your own story and your own experience, but if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do and why it's important and why you're living out your life in this way, what is that? What's that root?
Love, passion, strength, having self-worth, knowing and realizing that you have a voice. I think that is the most, that's the root cause. Teaching single mothers that they have worth, and that they can, in spite of their transgressions, in spite of their trials, their tribulations, their trauma, you should never allow it to consume you. It doesn't make you that person. Those are just experiences that you have lived. It doesn't and should never define who you are. My dad always said, okay, so this happened to you. So now what? Are you going to let it consume you? Or are you going to fight? Are you going to fight to make a change? Because if you don't fight, and you allow stuff to happen and keep happening to you and you don't make a change, then who does that make you? That make you a victim. And you're not a victim.
In your dream of dream worlds, Jeri, where does single family living go from here? I know that some of the people who are listening are not in Detroit, so I mean maybe you go across the country, maybe you go across the world, but in your dream of dream worlds, where does single family living go from here?
Believe it or not, I see single family living being national and then growing to be global. I know a lot, I tell people that all the time, and some people laugh, and I, it's okay, you know, but I guess, life sends you on a different path when you have experiences. So you know what you are capable of, and you know why you were put on this earth and your purpose. And I'm blessed to know that I have a purpose. And I know that single family living is going to be able to one day have that purpose with helping as many single parents, single mothers as possible. And I see us doing that. But for right now, Kate, I want to try to reach as many single parents as I can within the state of Michigan.
Well, you're doing it one family at a time, one person at a time. You're doing such incredible work, and I can't wait to continue to follow everything that you're doing and support it. And I hope everybody who's listening follows the work that you're doing and supports it in any way that they can. For people that are listening, of course, if you're in the Detroit area, there are so many ways that you can get involved and support your work. But for everybody who's listening, no matter where they are, what can they do to support your work? And then what would you say to them? What can they do in their own community and their own family and their own neighborhood to emulate the work that you're doing?
Um, to the first question, you can always go on singlefamilyliving.org to look at all of the great opportunities that we have and basically of how to support different internships that we provide. We have a lot of positions that we are looking for, especially in the summer. We have a new project that we created. It's called the Reading Heroes on Wheels. It's a mobile learning center to help the youth and single families to have a safe environment to have mentoring and tutoring sessions because a lot of places are not open still for them to be in that safe environment. We're also accepting any type of in-kind donations or funding that you would like to reach out to us. You can reach out to me personally at singlefamilyliving at gmail.com. To the second question, basically, I would say to the individuals within the community to don't forget that we all live a life that is not what other people would expect for us to live. We all have our own journeys to live. I would say to individuals who are seeking to try to help others to not judge them on their past or transgressions, but to listen to their stories. Everybody has a story. It may not be the one you want to hear, but it is a story that they have within themselves. And leave judgment at the door. Always come with an open mind. And remember, at the end of the day, people have issues with trusting because of their worry about people making judgment towards them. I would say definitely be open-minded and just be able to listen and then offer some morals, positive moral support. That's the key.
Jeri, your story and your life and the work that you're doing is just such a beacon of hope to me. And I know everybody who's listening, they're just going to be so inspired by you and by your story. Before I let you go, you know that I end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
Kate, I was ready for you. So
Good.
I would say that don't ever allow anyone to stifle your voice. Be strong-willed, stay independent, and believe within yourself that you are a gem, you are a diamond, and that you have self-worth and you are loved.
Jeri, you are a gem and you are so loved and you are love in this world. And I'm so grateful to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being on the podcast and thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you having me.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number one girl REVO. And you can find more information on One Girl Revolution at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number one girlrevolution.com.